Today we're doing a full in-depth review of the Samyang 35mm F2.8. We're breaking down everything that you need to know about this lens so that by the end of this video, you're going to have everything that you need to decide if this thing's right for you. Let's go! .35mm, and that's what we're looking at today, the Samyang 35 F2.8, and this is an AF series lens. I'm shooting on it right now so you guys can see what that looks like, and we're gonna break down everything that you need as well. We're gonna look at stills and video and pretty much everything that you need to make a decision. So let's start off with the build and features of this lens. And guys, if you haven't seen one of my videos before, my name's Stefan Malik and I do a lot of photography and filmmaking, tutorials, news, reviews, and all that good stuff. So if you do like this content, if you enjoy this video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Well, let's get into it. Right before we jump into the build of this lens, here's a few specs to get you going. Okay, let's see what's in the box. It's a small box for a small lens, and you're not going to find much in it. Basically a little bit of paperwork, and the lens itself, which does come in a little convenient case, so thanks for that, Samyang. This lens is fantastically small, as you can see here. It does come with the world's smallest lens cap that you see here, which is 40.5 millimeters, and does have some filter threads there in case you wanted to buy the world's smallest filter. This lens is such a convenient size, measuring only 1 3/8 inches long by 2.5 inches wide, and weighing only 85 grams with the lens hood off, making this one of the most ultimate lenses for portability. You wouldn't know to look at it, but it actually has a very interesting lens hood built right in. You can take it off to reveal 49mm filter threads, and this design is a little bit curious, I will admit, but there you go. The lens overall feels very well put together. It is a mostly plastic construction with a metal mount that's unfortunately missing a little rubber gasket for weather sealing. The focus ring is firm, turning smoothly and accurately. You won't find any buttons or switches on this lens, and do note that it's not image stabilized. Overall, for what it is, the build is quite good, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. So when it comes to value, there's just not a heck of a lot to compare this lens to. It comes in at about 225 to 250 American dollars, and at that price, it's got phenomenal value. Comparing it to, say, the Sony 35 Zeiss, you're going to be paying about 3 times the price. But performance is going to have a lot to do with value, so let's get into that. But rating this lens in terms of value, I give it 4.5 stars. Okay, so it's small, it's inexpensive. How does it perform? Well, pretty darn good. Let's have a look at the autofocus system, and keep in mind that this lens is a few years old now, so it's not quite as good as some of the newer stuff, but can hold its own. Here I've increased the volume for effect, and for you to hear the focusing motor at work. There is a little bit of noise when it comes to focusing, but nothing too outrageous. You hardcore video guys will have to decide if it's too much, or just use an external mic. It's not the fastest focusing lens ever, but it seems to always hit when you need to. For video, I'd say this lens is completely acceptable for autofocus, and for stills, it's actually pretty great. I've been able to use this lens in quite a few different situations, and it's never once disappointed me or let me down. Next, let's look at image quality and the sharpness of this lens. And right off the bat, I will tell you that it does suffer from some vignetting, especially wide open, pretty heavily. Here it is with the profile correction not turned on, and here it is turned on. And as you can see, there's also a little bit of distortion, only really at the outer edges. So looking at sharpness wide open here in the middle, it's actually pretty darn sharp. And if we stop down to f4, it improves a little bit, and we're going to be able to do that all the way to about f8. And after about f11, the picture starts to deteriorate a little bit. Now let's have a look at the corners. Wide open at 2.8, the corners are actually pretty reasonably sharp. Stop down to f4 for a noticeable improvement, and f8 is going to be about the best. Same thing as we stop down to f11, still pretty good, and after about f11 and 14 on, it starts to get a little bit soft again. Overall for image quality, it's very good and impressively sharp. There are a few aspects of this lens that really surprise me, and one of them is bokeh. It has a 7-bladed aperture, and it's a 2.8, so you really wouldn't expect the world out of this thing. But personally, I think it's batting out of its league. The bokeh is beautifully smooth and almost completely circular. I personally like it better than some lenses that are a lot more expensive, but it is personal preference. Let's have a look at the photography side of things and see what this thing can do. Here's some examples of some pictures that I've taken with it. We did touch a little bit on the autofocus for video, but my final thoughts on this thing for video are still pretty good. By no means a professional video lens, but the size and weight make it fantastic for gimbal work. If autofocus in video is a big priority for you, consider maybe looking at the newer Sony 35 1.8. If it's not a huge deal, you don't mind a little bit of noise, and not the fastest autofocus, this could be the one for you. Now of course no lens is perfect, but as far as performance goes, this little guy gets 4 stars. Wrapping up, this lens is a fantastic little package. It's got everything that you need. You could travel around the world with this lens and forget it's there. Throw it in your bag, forget about it, and it's there when you need it. The size and the weight for me is one of the most awesome things about it. It's a decent performer that doesn't break the bank. And like always, here's my personal pros and cons for this lens. And rating this lens as a whole, taking everything that we've talked about into consideration, I give it 4 solid stars. And if you're a subscriber, you know I also like to rate things on a scale from never think about again to consider to definitely buy. And in this case, if you're looking for an ultra portable 35mm prime with great value and decent performance, I recommend to strongly consider this one. Well, there it is. There's my review of the Samyang 35mm F2.8. There it is once again. I'm filming on it. What an awesome little lens in a tiny little package. And I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Drop your questions and comments down below. And if you're ready to buy this lens, if you think you want to pull the trigger, I'll leave an affiliate link down in the description for you that'll take you to where you need to go to buy it. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you in the next one. Also, make sure to check out my review on the Samyang 35, 85, and 50 1.4. See you next time.